First and Now, the official BC Lions podcast, back with you. Matt Baker alongside Nick Kowalski. And Nicky, it's here, man. It's getting close. We're about, five and a half weeks away from going up the Coquihalla, beautiful Kamloops, sunshine, football, hopefully no smoke. It's feeling real, man.
I feel like we lead this off all the time with, training camp's coming quick, but now it really is, right? Like, especially the UFL kicked off over the weekend, so that's something that felt like almost football was back, albeit a different spring league in America. But yeah, it feels like it's coming, and we're in April now. Easter's passed. So.
Yeah, did you get any chocolate?
No, I didn't do my Easter egg hunt, but I believe your Baker household was buzzing over the weekend.
Oh, yeah. That's another story for another day. You want to see a crazy 4-year-old kid high on chocolate and sugar all Easter weekend?
Well, I was too.
Well, yes. Well, yeah, you're preaching to the choir. But yeah, once you have kids involved, it changes. But you know what? It is cool to see them get excited. You know, it brings back memories from when ourselves we were into that. And long story short, our daughter woke up at 4:15 on Easter Sunday morning wanting to see if there was Easter chocolate. Thankfully...
Wow, it's like Christmas morning then.
Yeah. Thankfully, the Easter bunny had come already. But yeah, so it was early this year too, right? March 31st was Easter Sunday.
I don't know. It's
different every year.
I'm not into marketing holidays, but I like the holidays that are an exact date every year.
So
so much easier to remember, like the Halloweens, the Christmases, and all that. But the Easters and the Thanksgiving, I always just can't remember when they are.
Well, Thanksgiving in Canada is always the first Monday in October.
But it's not the same day. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what...
October 31st, you know what day that is. Like July 1st, you know what day that is.
My birthday's April 25th. It has been on Easter Sunday before, I think. It has.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, and we just had April March 31st. Anyway.
That makes no sense.
BC Lions official football and holiday podcast. It's great to be back. We have a great episode again in store. Vernon Adams Jr. We're going to talk to the Lions QB1, Most Outstanding Player nominee. Our first chance to really talk with him at length since he signed his 3-year extension. I know we had him in here for some media conference stuff at that time, but no real one-on-one opportunities yet. Get VA's mindset as we're, again, just over a month away from heading to Kamloops. I'm sure VA will be up here doing some training, usually once a month, once every 2 months he comes up and hangs out, and that's when you really know football is around the corner, when guys kind of slowly start moving into town before going up to Kamloops. We'll talk to Vernon Adams Jr. 1994 is on the agenda. Yes, we continue our series of recapping the Grey Cup championships, a very special championship in 1994, one that's near and dear to my heart. It was the first Grey Cup I ever saw in person. Hard to believe that was 30 years ago. Nearly 60,000 packed into BC Place, Lions and Baltimore CFLers. I know you like that little nugget, that little nickname. Was an interesting time in the Canadian Football League with U.S. expansion.
I envy not being alive during that time, or like even working for the. Could you imagine if we're like, on their schedule, it's like week 1 Toronto, week 2 we go to Vegas, week 3 we go to Memphis. Like, could you imagine?
Well, talk to Jamie Terrace in here about what it was like going on those trips.
Didn't we the other weekend at Emma's St. Patrick's Day party?
That's right. Yeah, he was talking about Las Vegas and how players brought their wives on the trip. I don't know what you're thinking.
Jamie was all over
bringing your wives on a business trip to Vegas.
Jamie kept remembering the food from the different spots. I don't blame him for Memphis, Vegas.
Well, Memphis barbecue, that would be pretty. That'd be pretty hardcore.
But I'm jealous you don't get to experience that.
Well, yeah, like San Antonio was another spot, right? I mean, talking to some older media guys I know who covered the basketball team, the Vancouver Grizzlies, short tenure in the NBA. They loved going to San Antonio. That was a city here.
Just random.
Those NBA beat guys, you say it was awesome, and Yeah.
I don't know.
Would have been cool.
Would you know the answer to this? Or I'm sure somebody out there listening probably knows the answer to this, but do you know why they picked like the specific cities and not like Seattle and like Buffalo where travel would have been, or you could bus potentially? Like, why was it like as south as you can get?
Yeah, looking back on it, that's a good question. I suppose it was a matter of fiscal opportunity, maybe.
Probably,
maybe it was simply going where you had stadiums and ownerships willing to fork out money, accrue some losses along the way. Yeah. Looking back on it, Seattle, Portland would have been a nice little I-5 bus league almost in the West Division, right?
Yeah, Buffalo,
But yeah,
Minnesota.
Teams didn't charter in those days, right? So I can't imagine there was many direct flights to Memphis or San Antonio.
That's what I mean. Like flight costs must have been cheaper too if you just did Seattle, Buffalo, Minnesota, and whatever.
Birmingham. Remember Matt Dunnigan with the Birmingham Barracudas? Yeah, it definitely was. Again, I was just a kid, not really old enough to really appreciate the business side of it, but it was kind of a cool time, even though there was an element to it of people were fearing that the Americans were going to take over the league, which wasn't really a good forecast to have. But I think at the end of the day, the league needed that to survive at that point. And yeah, it made for one heck of a Grey Cup matchup here in November of '94.
Yeah, and then we'll get into that in a bit, but yeah, it was just a wild time to look into all of that history.
I know, it's crazy, and again, 1994 Grey Cup, we'll get into that a bit later on. Recording this on the 3rd of April, middle of the week already. Speaking of Easter, you get the Monday holiday, and then all of a sudden you get the Tuesday that feels like a Monday, and now we're kind of looking forward to the weekend already.
I'm going to keep this under wraps to why, but this is my only day in the office this week too. So that's when everything just starts ramping up. And then we have stuff like our marketing days coming up. I was doing my calendar this morning and there's a lot of shoot dates coming up with, the marketing day, Indigenous youth program coming up, the women's football clinic coming up. So it's really filling up already. And we're just in the start of April.
Yeah. And a couple other things to talk about on the topic of that calendar filling up and starting to feel real. Our U.S. free agent camps also start this weekend, right? We'll be at D.C. in Atlanta. Tyler Gammon, Ryan Rigmaiden, Jim Yock, Rob Rang, I think, talking about some of the U.S. regional scouts. This, on the surface, it might not seem like a whole lot, but, you go down the list, you look at the amount of BC Lion players, Impact Lion players that were signed following these camps. The list is pretty impressive. You jotted some names down there.
Yeah, Solomon Elamimian, Adam Bighill, Travis Lule, TJ Lee, Ryan Phillips, Jonathan Jennings. These are all names that came through or discovered through these free agent camps. We even saw it last year with Judd Erickson, the quarterback who was with us for training camp, get signed pretty much right on the spot at the Seattle camp, which was a really cool thing to see. And we've said this before too with these, there's always these first-year American players. I'm learning too, the terminology, we never say rookie anymore because these are all pro athletes, so they play everywhere. They're first-year players in CFL. But these Americans, there's always one or two that comes out of these camps or just gets signed off the street kind of in the offseason, and they come and compete and even take starting jobs in the season. So it's a very important and kind of difference-making scouting aspect, right?
Yeah, and the reality is with the roster pretty much set, we're going to be adding some Canadian draft picks. You always end up signing a couple of guys in camp if guys don't work out or guys get injured. I think for the most part with these ones coming up, you're potentially looking at guys for the neg list to keep and maybe sign for next year. You go down the list of some of these unknown Americans coming to Kamloops. Some of these have been on the radar for a couple of years because of these past camps. At least I think so. So, the bread and butter in this league, everyone talks about Canadian depth, Canadian drafting. Obviously, very important, one of the most important things. But scouting south of the border, finding those quote-unquote hidden gems, that's a big part of it as well. It's a big key to championship success. And, Travis Lule, one of the greatest quarterbacks, the only Lions quarterback to win a regular season MOP and a Grey Cup MOP, by the way. Lule he's an example of a guy, the Seattle camp used to be Portland. I think Adam Bighill was Portland as well. And Jamie Cartmell, the Lions' previous director of communications and original co-host here on First and Now. He always told me the story. He used to go help the guys out at the camp, and he was the guy tossing balls to Travis during his throwing session there in Portland. And the rest is history, as they say.
You have a funny story about Cameron Wake jotted down too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, how can I forget one of the best
I left that one for you.
Examples. Yeah, there you go. See, I see it in the notes here. See, show prep is a big thing, Nikki. So as the story goes, the meat and potatoes of it was the Lions had a workout. Well, this weekend is Washington, D.C. This was Washington, D.C., I think, back in 2006, 7. So Cameron Wake, through his agent, is notified that the Lions are holding this workout. And I'm not sure if it was the main free agent camp or it was some private workout. I think it was the main free agent camp, and they knew he was going to attend. And he showed up to the wrong high school, the wrong venue.
Classic.
So I guess Bob Obilovich at the time was the Lions' main personnel guy south of the border, a longtime coach and GM in the Canadian Football League, multiple Grey Cup champion. So I guess Bob Obilovich calls up Wally Buono and says, hey, Cam went to the wrong facility, but I think we should give him an opportunity. I mean, this guy's a player. And I guess Wally himself, told this story, so we can say it. I think Wally got the policy being, well, he didn't show up. He went to the wrong place. No, forget him. And I think Bob Obilovich had to really convince Wally to give him another shot. So they work him out, and he comes up here, and the rest is history. Again, to use that cliche again. 2-time CFL Most Outstanding Defensive Player, Most Outstanding Rookie, and we definitely know now he was destined to great things in professional football, not just here north of the border. So, yeah, that's the famous Cameron Wake story.
I think there's a butterfly effect too, right? The bottom line is that if he doesn't go to that free agent tryout with the BC Lions, he probably never signs with the BC Lions, never showcases his extreme talents in the CFL, and never becomes a first-team All-Pro NFL player too. So,
or even worse, maybe he ends up on another CFL team's radar and gets a shot there, and then he terrorizes us for a couple of years. That'd be a lot worse, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So who'd have been the quarterback for us at the time? Was it still Casey Printers around then, or no?
Well, we would have been into the Dave Dickinson, Jarius Jackson, Buck Pierce trifecta at those times.
So they're probably thanking Wally Buono for letting Cam Wake still participate in that camp.
Yeah.
To catch my drift.
2007 and 2008 were the 2 years here. So, yeah, Dickinson would have been fresh off winning the Grey Cup in 2006 after Printers had signed with Kansas City. So, yeah, next time we talk to Wally, maybe we'll get the goods on that Cameron Wake story. But, yes, any U.S. prospects, we hear from them from time to time. They'll message us on Instagram and, hey, are you having a tryout in this city?
Yes.
Yes. Atlanta, D.C. first, then Atlanta. D.C. Saturday, Bishop McNamara High School. And then down to Atlanta, Westlake High School on Sunday, April 7th. I think we'll have, Gary Peters going to be on hand in Atlanta. Yeah. Coach Peters.
Yeah, free game from Gary out in Atlanta.
He's going to do great things again this year, I think. Gary?
Well, it's a guarantee. I think it goes without saying. I think this podcast is the official #1 Gary Peters fan podcast.
We're the public relations firm / agency for
Gary Peters, the best
Gary
DB
Peters.
in the CFL.
He's jacked up, by the way, his Atlanta Falcons getting Kirk Cousins. He has high expectations for his Falcons this year.
Interesting.
So, yeah, we shall see. Championships not necessarily won because of free agency, but definitely some interesting moving parts in the National Football League for the last several weeks. Before we get VA in here, Touchdown Pacific, our regular check-in with Touchdown Pacific. So since we last spoke to you on First and Now, the tickets went on sale, public sale, the pre-sales all ended. Under 1 hour last week is all it took for the general tickets to sell out, over 14,000 at Royal Athletic Park. And we've done the due diligence. We've got the clearance. All the safety hazards have been cleared. And by the time this episode drops, it's probably all gone. But we've expanded the Coors Light party zone. So just hearing that the interest has been off the charts crazy, record sellout. Remember, the Touchdown Atlantic in 2022 sold out in 24 hours. This was less than an hour. We had ticket sales in every province of the country, right? So this is truly going to be a Canadian Football League spectacle. And the expansion selling quickly. So very, very exciting to see all that.
The all provinces thing too. I was talking with some of our salespeople over the weekend, and they were saying, yeah, Alberta has a pretty strong presence in this game in terms of their ticket purchases, and then obviously Ottawa folk too are coming out in drives too. So going to be seeing probably a lot of Red Blacks fans, a lot of CFL fans in general, which is what I know this event was intended to bring, a big CFL collection to start off the Labor Day weekend. And there's going to be that 2-day street party in that Ship Point in the Inner Harbor too. That's going to really kick off before the game and get Victoria buzzing all weekend. So it's going to be awesome.
It's a good point about the Red Blacks fans. Our Nation, they call themselves. Pretty good at traveling, particularly for games in the East. They go to Toronto, Hamilton, Montreal. And even when they come out here to BC Place, you see the odd red and black plaid outfit.
Yeah, they stand out.
Lumberjack thing in the crowd. So, yeah, I know some people might say, oh, yeah, Ottawa's a natural choice because they might not draw well in BC. That's not necessarily true. You're going to see it firsthand. Now, is it going to be the same as if it were Saskatchewan coming? Not at all. But you're really going to see the coast-to-coast element of this game on August 31st. And the more I think about it, the more I remind myself of it. I do love that this is a home-and-home series.
Makes it fair.
Yeah, we'll be at TD Place exactly 1 week before. We, of course, didn't go to Ottawa in 2023. I love the fact that we're back to a balanced schedule.
Yeah, and then right after to Montreal after. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Hey, if this Lions team is able to bank some wins early again, I think that would bode well.
Yeah, I mean, get your air miles ready for those couple weeks there. I know it's gonna be a short flight to Victoria, but back to Montreal and to Ottawa before that, it's gonna be a lot. But
and just you think about it, like we will have played Winnipeg all 3 times already, right? So all the more reason. I think we will have had 2 games against Calgary. The Stampeders come back here again in October for the Gravy Bowl. So, yeah, the balanced schedule definitely has its perks, but all the more reason to make hay early on and have teams chase us in this West Division.
You got your schedule dates down yet? I'm still learning for 2024.
I'm getting there.
I'm getting there too. I'm pretty good at I think our memories are pretty solid, I would say. So speak on your behalf, but the last 2 years I can name almost any game date we had.
Yeah, like didn't we play this game one night on a road trip somewhere where we asked each other trivia questions? What were the game dates of the
last 2 years? I could probably still nail them, to be honest, or at least get pretty close, but
might bore the listeners to tears. But
Nick and Matt name game dates. Perfect segment.
Usually once we're into training camp, though, I've got it pretty much
that's my goal too.
Down pat.
People have it. Well, we have our graphics team. They made like the 9x16 like phone screensaver.
Yep.
Things. I think Stephen Chang usually has that as his phone screensaver. So that's an easy way to remember it. Mine's just my dog. I've always rolled with that, but
Willow.
That's one game I like. I see that's one of those question of the day kind of TikTok trends is like the players like show their phone screens. I think we should maybe get into that. And then there's always kind of probably 1 or 2 bizarre ones, but we'll see.
There you go. There's an idea for 2024. Excellent. All right. Touchdown Pacific. All the info at bclions.com. As far as we know, no more expansions beyond this week. But hey, you never know. The best way to be there was to have snapped up your tickets right away, and it's definitely going to be exciting. Plenty to talk about ahead of Touchdown Pacific. However, we'll get Vernon Adams Jr.'s thoughts again on being locked up for 3 more years. A couple of new teammates that he's familiar with. William Stanback. We'll get his thoughts on the Lions' new tailback. You know he's going to be jacked up about that. Watched some 2023 Grey Cup highlights again the other night and saw Williams' late first quarter touchdown serving as a main motivation factor as Montreal, remember, started a bit slow in that game. But we'll talk about that and plenty more with Vernon Adams Jr. coming up. And off we go to beautiful Tacoma, Washington. Looks sunny, more sunny there than it is up here. What's going on, Vernon? You're bribing the weather gods again.
A beautiful day in the neighborhood is shining. My skin is glowing. You know what I'm saying? It's a great day, man. I just want to say thank you guys for having me on. I don't think I've ever been on, maybe. So finally, I'm on here. But yeah, you know, this the best podcast in the league. So yeah, I'm glad to be on here.
All right, that's gonna go on. That's gonna go on my resume whenever I send one out again.
That'll be the tagline now. Yeah.
I think it's actually your. We did this about this time last year. We were doing it in the studio downtown, and we had you call in. So this is actually your second appearance. So
okay.
It's good to know that we made such an impression that you remembered. It's good.
Yeah, no, that's me. First this off season. That's what I meant. That's my bad.
Oh yeah, first of the year. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. We were talking off the top here. We had a chance to talk to you a little bit. You were up here after the contract, but no real one-on-one time yet. And as we were hitting around, we are into the first week of April, about 5-6 weeks out from Kamloops. I know you're going to be doing some training up here before then. How exciting is it right now, VA?
Yeah, man, it's so exciting. Today we actually had our first quarterback meeting as a group, you know, with the newer guys, Jake, Dakota, and Chase. And it just reminds you that we're right around the corner. You know what I'm saying? So like this whole off season, guys are just grinding and lifting and running and just enjoying the process. But now that we're starting off-season meetings, it's like, oh, we're really getting close. Like we're, like you said, 5-6 weeks out. I know next week we'll be out there. I'm sure we'll touch on it, but we'll have the mini camp out there next week that I'm putting together. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just very excited just to really get this going and start talking football with the guys and get back in that routine.
Yeah, expanding on the quarterback room, a couple of additions in free agency. Two guys we're familiar with, having faced them multiple times. We saw Jake Dolagala have a good game, at least one good game against us last year in Regina, and Dakota Prukop, veteran, Grey Cup experience with Winnipeg. Just your excitement to have these guys on board and your conversations with them. How excited are they to start a new chapter?
Yeah, man. Both of those guys, they're definitely excited to get in some new colors, the best colors in the league. So they're glad to get over here and just, like you said, new start. I've actually known Dakota since college. We both played against each other in the Big Sky when he was at Montana State, and then I was at Eastern Washington. Then I was a grad transfer at Oregon, and after my season there, the coaches told me to go recruit Dakota to Oregon because he was the best player, the best next quarterback. So actually recruited him and hosted him on his visit to Oregon. So we've been knowing each other for a while. Just met Jake this offseason. Awesome guy. Super tall. We all know that. But like you said, he had a great game against us when we were there in Saskatchewan. I'm just excited to bring them in and have some experience. We're all going to learn from each other, have fun, and everybody knows it takes a village, you know what I'm saying, to win a championship. And, you know, like you said, Dakota brings that experience of backing up Zach over there. And so he can bring in his 2 cents. Jake can bring up his 2 cents, the things that he liked in Saskatchewan. So, and then Chase, you know, our young guy, man, he's still got some learning to do, but he's going to be ready to be slinging it in training camp here. So I'm excited.
I know on the topic of last year's West Final 2 and these Winnipeg quarterbacks, you mentioned, I know it was fresh when we were talking after for Arrow Up, but you mentioned that you were throwing out, like, I'm going to put the score up in front of me when I'm working out and everything like that. So is that something you fulfilled with the motivational purposes to getting back for this season?
Yeah, you know, I don't really have the score up there for me, but I've watched that game a few times, and I watched some clips from that game, and just left a bad taste, you know, in my mouth and things like that. But just all you can do is just improve and get better from it, you know, and just know what you're going to do differently next time. And so yeah, it's definitely motivated me this whole off season. But like I don't have it like right there because, you know, I don't want to just think about that all the time. So, but yeah, definitely motivated.
What are some of the things you've been like critiquing or focusing on this offseason in terms of your game?
Yeah, different arm angles. You know, you got those tall DNs, those Willie Jeffersons, you know what I'm saying, that can just sit there at the line and wave their arms around. So different arm angles and throwing the ball. So I'm not getting batted down as much. Um, it's hard to say you want to not throw interceptions because I did lead the league in interceptions, but just being smarter, taking under throws, check downs to your running backs, just things like that. I'm watching more film. I'm seeing things differently. It's just the older I get, even though I've been in the league for 8 years, 8, 9 years, you still learn more each and every year, and you're still chasing to get better each and every year, chasing the Zach Caleros, the Bo Levi's, the Trevor Harris's, what I'm saying, chasing those guys. And so, yeah, just excited to just keep getting better, keep working on the little things.
This has popped in my head, but on the topic of arm angles, on social media now, you always see like when Patrick Mahomes makes these like no look passes and these side passes and everyone goes crazy. But then a lot of people say, no, Matthew Stafford was doing this forever before and no one just realized that, right? But is that something you agree with, that quarterbacks have been doing these different angles for a while, just maybe never got the attention? Or is this something you actually are kind of like teaching yourself?
No, I absolutely agree. As a quarterback, you have to have those different arm angles. So everyone does it. Everyone has thrown sidearm before. Everyone has had to go way over the top before as well. But yeah, man, seeing Matthew Stafford doing that back when he was with the Lions, it was this clip. He was in the red zone. He's looking this way. He throws it right past the linebacker. Then he does it in the biggest game of the year in the Super Bowl to Cooper Kupp, and it was just it's amazing to see that. But Patty Mahomes, he's definitely a legend at those arm angles.
Yeah, you can't give him an extra down in overtime either, as I'm still.
You're not bitter?
Still angry about that.
Bitter, right.
Yeah, hey. You gotta appreciate greatness. That's all you can do. He is who he is. You talked about, the angle with Mr. Prukop is a good one. Didn't know quite the extent of it. I knew you had crossed paths at Oregon, but another guy obviously you know very well, William Stanback, addition right before free agency, was a nice little surprise as the Alouettes had granted him his release. How involved were you in convincing him to come here, and how excited are you to have him?
I can say I was pretty involved, but anybody that our GMs or coaches ask me, hey, let's see what's up with this guy or whatever, I'm going to do it because they think it's in the best interest, and I want to do whatever I can to help this team out. And knowing Stanback since 2018, he's just an amazing man, husband, father. Tremendous story, a sad one, but for him to just keep going, he's just a great dude, man. And I love his energy. He's an old soul. He's not one of these loud, rowdy guys like that. He's gonna do all his talking in those pads when they're in between the lines. You know what I'm saying? And New York guy, so those New York cats are a good vibe as well. So I'm glad that we have him. You know what I'm saying? I think he still's got it. I don't think he was used properly last year. And, hopefully we can do that here. And then just having him and Smoke together, that's going to be an amazing 1-2 punch, dude. We might have an opportunity to go two American backs, a couple times this season. You know what I'm saying? So, and to have that, and that's like lightning and thunder. Come on, take your option. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to get Stanback over here and bring his family with him. Just a great dude, and excited to have him.
Yeah, having the chance to talk to him briefly there, you can tell he's ready for this next chapter here on the West Coast. Another intriguing name, and it's you don't want to highlight just one or two guys because there's a lot of guys can come to camp and impress, but Travis Fulgham, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles, Ryan Rigmaiden actually gave us this nugget when we had him on around January, the new year. I think it was our first episode of the new year. Travis actually spent some time with you in Tacoma. Talk about all that. What was that like?
Yeah, man. I was helping recruiting him, and it took a few weeks, and then he finally told me he was going to sign around his birthday. And as soon as he signed, he hit me up again. He was like, "Hey, I'm trying to come out there for a few days and get some work." And I was like, "Come on!" So he flew out, hotel, and worked out with me and the guys here who I worked out with, and we hit the field a few times. And um, I love me some D Rhymes, man. That's my boy, man. I love D Rhymes. Great dude, great leader. But Travis is very similar to D Rhymes in their body types. He's a tall guy. He's going to go up and get it. So um, losing D Rhymes sucks, but I think Travis will be a guy who can go up and get the ball just like D Rhymes. So I'm excited to have him, man. He looked really good when he was out here, and he'll be in Vancouver next week with us.
This isn't a BC Lions question, Vernon, but there's a lot of CFL connection with this. But Bo Baldwin gets hired as Calgary's quarterbacks coach the other week. What's your feelings on that? And just explain for those who don't know Bo's impact on you and a lot of other CFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, definitely. Bo Baldwin was my head coach and offensive coordinator at Eastern Washington for my first 3 years. And he really developed me into the quarterback who I was starting to become in college and things like that. I was more of an athlete coming out of high school and running a lot, 1,000 yards rushing as a senior. But he really taught me how to sit back there and read the defense, you know, and really helped me in that aspect. And not only me, he coached Michael Riley at Central Washington. He coached Bo Levi Mitchell at Eastern Washington as well. Myself, there's another young quarterback named Eric Berrier who is in Winnipeg now, who broke all my records at Eastern Washington. You know what I'm saying? So Bo is that guy, man. And it just sucks he went to the wrong team. He went to the enemy. So, you know, but I'm just glad to see him still coaching, and he's going to do a great job with Jake Meyer over there, just not against us. So, yeah.
I know on the topic of Eastern Washington too, I know we saw you out in Houston, and I think it was in January to support UW for the college football playoff. But have you been checking out the March Madness? I saw the Eagles actually made the tournament for the women's, right?
Yeah, the women's team made it. It was exciting, man. They had a great year. I always kept up with the highlights and the stats and stuff like that. And not that I know anybody there, but you know that's the alma mater. So just supporting them. And yeah, they did a great job. Went to go play a really good Oregon State team who just lost, I think, in the Elite Eight. So yeah, they did a great job, and just proud of them.
Are you still tuned into the Madness right now, or do you got any predictions for the Final Four?
Oh yeah, you know I watched the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese last night, man. They were going crazy, man. It's awesome to see women's basketball get so much pub now and respect. You know, it took a while for it, and but it's awesome to see. But it's tough. I want to see Caitlin get one. You know what I'm saying? She lost in the big one last year, so I want to see her get one and do her thing on her way to the WNBA. I really liked USC Juju Watkins, the freshman there, but they just lost last night too. So, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I was going to say, I was telling Nick was in Vegas last March, a few weeks ago. Went to see the Canucks in the Golden Knights was the main event, but the Pac-12 women's tournament was going on across there at the MGM Arena. Didn't get a chance to go, but it was just kind of cool seeing. It was Oregon State. I know Oregon. You're not Oregon State, but Oregon State Beaver fans all over the Vegas Strip. A few USC fans, and it's cool to see the pride for all the schools. But I'm wishing I kind of went now, but schedule didn't quite permit it. But it was cool to kind of be around.
Yeah, those are always exciting, man. They have them down in Vegas. I know the Oregon women's team, I think they lost in the first round to Colorado, and it was a tough loss. But Oregon State, you know, I don't have so much beef with them because we have the same colors. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
I know my Oregon fans back home or back in Oregon, Eugene, they're like, ew, I just can't stand to see you in those colors. But you know, black and orange not too bad.
Before we let you go, Vernon, I got one guest question that just popped in my mind. But we were talking to Liam outside in the office, and Liam says, "Hey Vernon, big fan. Just wondering where your 3 favorite cities are on the road."
On the road, 3 favorite cities are Ottawa. I love Ottawa. They have great Jamaican food. It's French and English. It's awesome. I love it there. Calgary. I love Calgary just because the hotel's set up. They got the hot tub and everything, and I love playing in Calgary. Just love beating those guys. And then Montreal because that's where I came from. So I know a lot of the places there in Montreal, and so yeah, I would say those three.
Awesome.
You excited? Yeah, we're back to a balanced schedule this year too. That has to be good. You get to hit your favorite dinner spot in every place again, right?
Exactly, and you get your lick back. If you lose one, you get an opportunity to go get them back. So we didn't have that opportunity with I think a couple of teams last year. So I'm just excited that it's back to the normal, and it's going to be a fun year, man. I'm very excited.
And before we let you go, have you kept tabs on the Canucks? I know a few of us went to that game back in October with the old linemen. You treated them to a night out and clinched a playoff spot in the last few days. It's going to be exciting times in this city this spring, VA. Have you been keeping tabs on it?
Yeah, I've just been keeping up on the score. I follow them on socials now, so I've seen that they clinched the spot. I was going to say my first game I went to was with you and the guys, so that was a great time, and I think they scored like 8 goals that night, so I think we need to get to some more games.
Yeah, we started the hot streak to start the year. It was your BC Lions, and yeah, we'll get you on the Siren again. We'll make that an annual event. I know they loved having us, so.
Don't underestimate it though, because you guys seen the video. I thought I was about to throw my arm out before the game, so glad I didn't, but it was definitely a great time.
Well, we planned it. We did it during a bye week, thankfully, so that has to be the tradition.
Had some time to get in there and do some rehab and stuff, so yeah, I should have been good. Yeah.
Beauty. Hey, Vernon, listen, we always thank you for coming on. I know it's starting to heat up, and we shall see you in just a few days up here doing some workouts and meeting with some guys. So can't wait, my friend. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir, fellas. Thank you guys for having me on. The best podcast in the CFL.
Prayers up. Awesome. Thank you, Vernon.
Yes, sir.
Always a pleasure talking with Vernon Adams Jr., great player, great leader, great ambassador for the franchise, and giving the old podcast some love, too.
Yeah, he's a great ambassador for the podcast. Name dropped that several times. So, yeah, we're clipping that. We're putting it in the promo. We're putting it in the intro. We're going to run ads with that. You'll see it on TV. You'll see it before the Canucks playoff games. We'll have Vernon Adams Jr., First and Now promo. A lot of ideas.
Put it on my LinkedIn profile. Why not?
Whatever,
it's a business. It's a business.
My X bio. I don't like saying X, but you got me.
The app formerly known as Twitter. That's what I call it.
That's what you say all the time. Yeah. Yeah. I'm still Twitter because it's a tweet, and you can't call it what's an X when you post something. Like everyone says a tweet, right? It doesn't
I X'd it. No, doesn't
roll off the tongue.
Yeah. VA and the Lions will be embarking on the tournament capital. The veterans, by the way, roll in Saturday, May 11th, Sunday, May 12th. Will be on the field. First year Lions minicamp, not rookie camp like we've talked about. They're not technically rookies. May 8, 9, 10. It's here. And love having Vernon leading the charge. And you heard it, it's your responsibility to help sell the franchise to potential free agents. Obviously, he knows William Stanback. He knows Dakota Prukop. Travis Fulgham. That's a great story. An East Coast guy, I think at least, flying out to Tacoma, Washington, to spend some time with QB1. And just one example of a guy we're excited to see how he adapts to Canadian football.
Another guy, too, that we didn't ask Vernon about, but I'm pretty excited about this guy. And I think he's kind of maybe a little being slept on right now in terms of offseason acquisitions. But Deontay Evans overlapped with Vernon Adams Jr. in Montreal,
That's
too.
right,
and
yeah.
He was a free agent signing not on day one either, right? Kind of like, I think it was day 2 or day 3, the team agreed to terms with Deontay. So another guy coming in from Montreal. We got a lot of these. It's funny, too. Vernon said William Stanback's he got that New York vibe to him. I always think when I think Montreal and New York vibe, I always think John Bowman. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But now we got another one of those cats in the house.
That's exactly right. Yeah, good point. Hall of Famer John Bowman. So thank you again to VA, and we'll look forward to talking to him more regularly throughout this season. Okay, we've done 1964, we've done 1985. Took the Lions less time to win a third compared from 1 to 2, 64 to 85, but still kind of some tumultuous times in between those two championships in 85 and 94. Of course, the early 90s were anxious times everywhere in the CFL, really. We talked off the top of this episode about U.S. expansion being a necessity at the end of the day. But the 94 Lions, 11-6-1 in the regular season. It was Dave Ritchie, the late Dave Ritchie's second year as head coach. Here's some trivia for you. The only tie that year was in Sacramento.
That's, again, another random CFL place.
I think it was 15-15, and I think if memory serves, it was one of those where the Lions tried to punt one for a single to win it near the end. Because back then, the overtime format was 2 5-minute halves.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
Not sudden death, not a shootout format. They played football for 10 more minutes, regardless of scoring or what have you. So, there you go.
Interesting.
The Sacramento Gold Miners.
I'm getting ahead of myself a bit here, but when I was watching the 1994 Grey Cup, the announcers they brought this up that they were pretty shocked about how the game transpired because earlier in the year Baltimore played BC, and the CFLers, which is Baltimore, they outrushed the Lions 249-45, and they of course had Mike Pringle in the backfield too. So the Grey Cup went a little differently. We'll get into that, but that's something that the Lions had to overcome that season.
Yeah, so let's get into it. Yeah, the backdrop there, 11-6-1, but they struggle in the second half of the year. I think they were 7-1-1 in the first half of the year and then went below 500. So they kind of limped into the playoffs, fell to third place, upset the Edmonton Eskimos, as they were called at that time, thanks in large part to a Charles Gordon interception late in the game on Damon Allen. They go into Calgary the next week. That game in the snow, McManus to Flutie, didn't actually really start snowing until late in the game, like maybe late in the third quarter. And that just kind of adds to the legend. So you wrote it down. Biggest upset in franchise history. I'm saying, it was in Calgary. That Stampeders team, Doug Flutie went to the Stampeders a couple of years earlier from the Lions. And Calgary just owned us for a couple of years until that day. But it was little brother Darren stealing the headlines. So 2 road wins, and then they come back home. The Baltimore CFLers getting a win in Winnipeg in the Eastern Final. So you remember that part of it. The Blue Bombers had lost back-to-back Grey Cups. Hey, sound familiar? 92-93.
There's some weird parallels.
Yeah, 92-93. Yeah, definitely. And then lose the East Final at home to Baltimore. So I can tell you this, as a 10-year-old kid attending this game with my dad and my nonna. Great childhood memory for me. This was very much a backdrop of the Lions representing Canada. Everyone in Canada was behind the Lions, it seemed, because we didn't want the Grey Cup going to this no-name American team. Come on. So that was the backdrop from what I remember. So you did your rewatch like you've done for all these Grey Cups. What sticks out for you?
I mean, I think this goes without saying, but the quarterback play wasn't that strong. It was definitely all the other phases picking up. Obviously, Louis Bisaglia's walk-off game-winning field goal, and then these teams exchanged pick sixes in the second quarter because there was 5 first-half interceptions between Kent Austin and then Tracy Ham was Baltimore's starting quarterback at the time, and it was kind of what BC had to do throughout the season too, is they relied not just on Kent Austin as their number 1 quarterback, but they also had Danny McManus as their backup, and Danny threw for over 1,000 yards in the regular season, and obviously Danny had to finish out that game, right? And then there was also this came up huge in the Grey Cup, but the 2-headed monster of Corey Philpott and Sean Millington in the backfield. It was Philpott during the season who had over 1,400 yards, but in the actual Grey Cup, it was Millington with, Philpott went over 100 actually in the Grey Cup, and then Millington chipped in with 85 himself too. So they're running attacking with the Lions, and then Big Jamie Terrace with all these pull blocks and right to start the game. He was getting a lot of love. He
got some love from, I think it was Don Whitman, James Curry, and Dan Kepley. It was a 3-man booth, and then Steve Armitage down on the sidelines. So you mentioned the interceptions. Let's backtrack it. Baltimore's first play from scrimmage was a James Jefferson interception for the Lions.
And you can just hear the crowd get loud like right before that play.
Lions get the ball, kick a field goal on the first drive, then that interception on Baltimore's first play. Lions could have pulled away early here, but Austin was intercepted in the end zone on BC's second drive. A great athletic play. Who was it that made that interception? Do you have that down there?
I didn't write
Was
that
it
down.
Carl Anthony? I can't remember, but a great leaping interception, and he gets 2 feet down before the end zone line.
Pretty much right where we would come out,
Took
right?
it away from Ray Alexander, right? So Lions an opportunity to go up 10-0 really early, and then again both offenses really had trouble getting traction.
Yeah, and then obviously Charles Gordon is the BC Lions defender who gets the pick six to kind of even things up, and then when Kent Austin gets injured too. This is somebody that I didn't really know much about this player before, but he had a great Grey Cup game, and I'll explain where he stood out to me. But after Kent Austin gets injured, Baltimore's already in prime scoring field position. And on first down, Tracy Ham rolls out, but he gets called for intentionally grounding because Henry Newby pressures him. And that's what I thought. Henry Newby really stood out in that game. And then on second down, Baltimore runs a screen to Robert Drummond, which was a play they ran about 10 times in that game. I guess they did it probably 100 times during the season. But then they miss a field goal. So BC gets off free with that interception, and then from there, Danny McManus comes in the second half and leads the team to victory.
Yeah, that whole sequence before the half. So Baltimore gets 2 quick touchdowns. The second one is an interception where the defender laterals it to Carl Anthony and he scores. Yeah. So talk about the wind going out of the sails, 14-3. Then the Lions get their pick 6 from Charles Gordon. They had Baltimore pinned 14-10. CFLers come all the way down the field, get held to a field goal. That was big. They were inside the 10-yard line, held to a field goal. Then the Austin interception happens, and then Baltimore actually misses a field goal attempt right before. Donald Igwe-Bike. He had a couple of misses in the first half, and after that second miss after the interception where Austin got hurt, I think it was Les Brown gets up in his face and starts trash talking him after missing.
And the kicker's going back at him. Yeah.
And that attempt was not even close, right? It was wide by 6 feet.
Yeah.
That's one thing that stood out to me on my rewatch.
And then this obviously had to be by design, and Dave Ritchie came out the second half and his OC with this strategy. But Danny McManus didn't attempt a pass on his first drive, and that was a touchdown drive for the Lions too. It was 4 runs, and then McManus got sacked on a second down, which sets up a field goal, you think, until Darren Flutie pulls it to the outside and gets a first down on a fake field goal.
My favorite thing rewatching that fake field goal again and again, Louis the lead blocker.
Yeah, he goes out and runs with him, yeah. Well, I guess they saw on film, the broadcast team actually pointed it out that Winnipeg had attempted a fake field goal in their playoff game against Baltimore, and the Lions must have used that as a film watch because all the Baltimore edge defenders, they came in and went for the block, right? And then Darren could have jogged for the first down if he wanted to, but that set up a 1-yard run from Danny McManus on 3rd and goal to get the Lions back in the end zone.
This one epitomized for me all 3 phases had to step up, and they did. We've talked about the Charles Gordon interception touchdown. Les Brown dropped an interception in that crazy late second quarter sequence. Again, thankfully these missed opportunities didn't haunt him in the end, but so yeah, special teams with the fake field goal. And this one wasn't without some controversy as well in the fourth quarter. Remember, these were the days before instant replay. There was no challenges back then. Ray Alexander awarded with a catch that probably wasn't a catch. Let's just put it mildly.
Probably. I mean, for anyone who ever complains about these lengthy reviews, just happy that they get the right call.
Right,
That's all.
exactly.
I'll leave it at that, because that was I had no idea that happened, and that was an interesting one. It's a 34-yard gain for Ray Alexander. It's in history now. But before that drive, actually, the Lions get back-to-back sacks in the fourth quarter. And this is late fourth quarter where the game's tied at 23, and Tracy Ham actually gets hurt on that first quarterback sack. I believe it's in my notes here. It was I think it was Angelo Snipes that got him.
Doug Peterson was another guy in
Snipes.
the interior defensive line that had a big game. He was He was, I think, an injury replacement for Glenn Scrivener. Peterson was a rookie at that time, SFU product. So every Grey Cup championship team is laden with contributors, Canadian homegrown players, and Doug Peterson was one of those guys.
You want to hear an embarrassing tidbit? I did it on when I was rewatching this game. I heard Doug Peterson. I didn't realize it was the D tackle on the Lions. So I thought maybe Doug Peterson, current head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, was on the Baltimore CFLers.
Yeah.
And I quickly but there, I noticed, I knew the name OJ Brigance, obviously played here. So he was on Baltimore.
OJ Brigance, inspirational story, currently in a battle with ALS, of course. Member of the BC Lions, went to Baltimore. In fact, I think he was the only guy to win a Grey Cup and a Super Bowl in the same city. He was a Super Bowl champion with the Baltimore Ravens in 2001, a Grey Cup champion with Baltimore in 95. One of the all-time great guys to suit up for the BC Lions, and an inspirational story as well. But yeah, he was part of that. We've talked about Mike Pringle and everything he became, the all-time leading rusher and everything. And a big difference, I've talked about all three phases. On special teams, Baltimore, they were stout. It seemed that Lester Smith had a second gear in their return game. And with field position being as important as it is, that's an area, thankfully, the Lions were able to exploit. But yeah, the Alexander no catch, that set up a Louis miss.
Yep.
Which Baltimore had to return because they weren't going to give up a single point that late in the game, and it was basically like a punt where they pinned him deep, right?
Yep.
They go 2 and out, and then that ultimately gives the Lions a chance to get it back, and Louis makes good as the time expired.
Yeah, what a fitting moment. And I thought you could really, even just watching the game back 30 years later now, you could really hear how loud and intense that crowd was. I mentioned on Tracy Ham's first pass of the game, it's their first play of the game, so you can hear the crowd start roaring up when Baltimore breaks the huddle. And yeah, it was special for Louis too to have that iconic moment. And yeah, it was a cool thing to watch.
Again, as a kid, my first Grey Cup, and always a special moment for me looking back. And a little nugget, you probably noticed it watching it. He kicks the field goal to win it, and fans storm the field. You see, so because all these fans went on the field, it was chaos. They couldn't do the trophy presentation on the field. The Lions got presented the Grey Cup in the locker room, which, looking back, it was
unfortunate.
Yeah, a little unfortunate. Didn't get to see it, but...
Well, in 85, we didn't mention on this too, but there was the cameras right after the Lions won the cup. There was cameras on Don Matthews' face as he was looking to shake hands with everybody.
Yeah.
And there's fans barging into him. I don't know how he didn't lose his cool. Cause
exactly.
He got hit pretty good by some random ignorant fan kind of just running on the field. But
right.
Yeah, pretty wild times. Little trivia question for you too. So you got some good options here, but the Lions field goal percentage leader that year, you have, we obviously talked about Louis. Paul McCallum was on that team. Who do you got? Who do you think had the better field goal percentage?
Has this person been a guest on the podcast before?
Yes. We're playing Guess Who here.
Is he an SFU grad? Yeah. Giulio Caravetta. He was perfect. He had to fill in on field goals, right?
Ding, ding, ding. Giulio Caravetta, 3 for 3, 100% that year, field goal range. So
there you go. Kickoff specialist, backup quarterback.
Yeah,
and
through one pass.
Yep. Love it. We'll get next time we get Giulio on, we'll get his thoughts of the 1994 team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then you have the 3 All-Stars from that team when it comes to the league All-Stars. Sean Millington, our running back. They haven't listed a fullback there. I think that's wrong, but I just stole that from I think it was one of the online sites.
Wikipedia is probably
not
wrong.
Wikipedia, is a different site, but I don't want to throw it under the bus. Les Brown was a corner that got an All-Star. He had 11 picks in 94, so obviously deserving. Mm-hmm. And then Charles Gordon made the league All-Stars too. And then Darren Flutie, Ray Alexander were also West Division All-Stars, and they were both 1,000-yard receivers that year.
The 94 Lions were inducted to the Lions Wall of Fame in 2014, and they're in the BC Football Hall of Fame. And one lasting memory for me, another one mentioned being there. For some reason, I'm not sure if we parked our car over there, or maybe it was too crazy to get out of downtown. We were hungry, so we walked across the Canby Street Bridge to the Wendy's, which is still there. It's still somehow there after all these years. Broadway and Canby, walked there and had a late dinner after the Grey Cup. And people were walking across the field all happy, all celebrating, and very cool.
Yeah, that's just what a good feeling it must be. I'll leave it at that.
Home Grey Cups. What can we say? And good. This has been one of our favorite endeavors for the last few episodes, and we're only halfway there. And a couple of weeks from now, we'll talk about the 2000 team.
This is one I know like nothing about going into, so I'm excited. This is probably the one I know the least about, to be honest.
Well, I got reacquainted pretty well with 2000 during the 20-year celebration, or the 20-year anniversary. Remember during the COVID lockdown and Grey Cup Unite, all that stuff that was planned. So I hosted a round table with some members of that team where we rewatched the game. So I don't think I have to rewatch this one.
Yeah,
I might do it again. Yeah.
Good memories.
But,
it was funny when I was researching this. I was just going into a bit of a Baltimore CFLers wormhole, and they won the Grey Cup the next year in '95 against Calgary.
Yeah, in Regina.
The league, the CFL, they actually did a round table, like a virtual round table during the COVID years with like Mike Pringle and Tracy Ham and all those guys, just watching the game back, and it was pretty cool. I was kind of skimming through it.
Yeah, they did a bunch of those that year, and we kind of modeled ours after that, the 2001, like the 2011 Lions were on one. I think the 98 Stampeders, they got Jeff Garcia back for that, and they did one of those. And yeah.
This is off topic, but one of my favorite COVID nights, period, when you're stuck in your house for however months long, was when the Boston Bruins 2011 team did one.
Yeah.
And it got out of hand. And I think you can look it up. I think it's probably still on YouTube somewhere, but they were, the guys were enjoying themselves and they were saying some wild stuff on there. But it was one memory that I know it's probably not a great memory for our demographic, but it was a really funny virtual kind of meeting between the 2011 Bruins.
Probably a few beverages consumed.
Possibly.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, we all did that during lockdown, right? Like
Tuukka Rask did that night, I'll say that.
Well, we got on Zoom with our buddies and, had a few. It's just what you did. So, excellent.
We're punting that, though. We're punting that.
Yeah, we're punting that. Speaking of which, go for it or punt.
It's back.
What are you going for here?
Our Easter edition.
Yes. Apparently, looking at the script here, what do you got?
We went Easter this year, and I'm starting to, this might be a hot take, but I'm going to go for it. And it's black jelly beans. And the weird thing about this is I don't like black licorice. I think that's more of a texture thing, though. I'm not really into the feel of the black licorice. Yeah. But I love black jelly beans. I don't know why. And that's probably, I'm in the norm there. That's okay. I can
not
a
fan, but yeah.
If there's all these black jelly beans that went uneaten in your household, feel free to bring them down to Surrey facility here, and I'll take them all because
don't think we got any jelly beans this time. It was all
you went chocolate.
Yeah, it was all eggs.
Oh, you gotta go. Even in the Easter eggs?
I've got a big Barbie chocolate. Are you interested in that? It's still on the box.
If it's one of those like milk chocolate ones, yeah.
Black jelly beans. Okay, interesting. All right.
What's your thoughts? Yay or nay?
I'm punting that if I had to punt it.
So where do you go? What do you go? Like red, pink? Like
I'm a red licorice guy. Oh yeah. As far as jelly beans go, purple.
Okay, purple, yeah.
Red, yellow. Yeah. On the topic, though, of candy, I tried something new, peanut butter flavored Cadbury mini eggs. They're really small ones that come in the purple bag.
Yeah, they're like this big.
So we got that. There was some of those out at our Easter family function that had peanut butter in the middle.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, so definitely. And have you ever had peanut butter M&Ms? Similar idea.
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah.
Only they're the Cadbury eggs. Yeah. So, very much a fan.
Yeah, I feasted definitely. I got mini eggs this week, so I was happy with that too. Those are always a classic in the Easter weekend. But moving on, okay, I'll let you go first with punting here. What do you got?
Okay, punting. Yeah, I'll go first here. How about this? This is kind of an unorthodox one, but you go to a sporting event, you're supposed to sit in the seat that's assigned, right? You get a ticket, right? Of course, that's how it works. So I go to the Canucks game last Thursday against Dallas. Not a great game, but that's not the point here. So, you know what it's like? You kind of feel like you hit the lottery where there's a seat next to you that's empty, right? So I had
one or two?
There was two. Okay. So there was actually two seats to my right that were empty halfway through the first period. Okay, maybe there's a no-show here. But sure enough, late in the period, young couple comes to sit down. And one of them kind of, the lady looks at me and says, hey, I think you're in my seat. I'm like, no, I don't think so. No, okay, I have seat number 11, whatever it was. I'm like, okay, well, let's see your ticket. Let's see your phone ticket. Sure enough, the people were in the wrong section. They were one section over. It's like, yeah, you're actually in the wrong section. You've got 103. This is 102. No, I'm talking nicely. You got to be civil about it. And they go, oh, I think we'll just sit here anyway. I'm like, oh, okay. What are you going to do if the actual seat holder shows up? You got to move. So I kind of said politely, yeah, you should probably just go sit in your regular seat. Oh, no, we'll sit here. And it's like, okay, it wasn't worth getting in a fight over, but still, sitting in a seat that is not yours, especially, when you're infringing on someone's territory, you might enjoy a little extra leg room. Come on.
You should have told them they're here. They're just gone to the washroom.
Yeah, see, that's what I should have done. But
hindsight.
Then in the second period, they do it again. They show up late, and yeah, they left a full bag of popcorn under the seat after the first period, and I was so tempted to just eat the whole thing. Thankfully, I didn't. And then, sure enough, when the game ends, we're going to take this popcorn home. I'm like, okay, have a good night, but. Come on. First off, know where you're going, know where your section is, know where your seat is. But, anyway.
Yeah, I think we could do our own little segment on sporting event, seat etiquette. Not even just seat, but etiquette in general.
Etiquette, yeah.
That's definitely,
sure.
Come on, you can't be doing that.
Right.
So I'm with you there for sure. It always is nice, kind of whenever you're on the Sky Train
or you're on a flight.
Yeah, flights is number one. Yeah, you nailed it.
Vegas a few weeks ago.
Get that empty row.
Get the empty seat. I'm thinking, I'm giving everyone who's coming down the aisle, I start giving the death stare. Okay, keep walking. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not their choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
All right.
I'm upset about mine. I think I have to break my relationship up with this device, but I'm punting AirPods. I lost my first pair over the weekend. Yeah, it sucks. Have you lost AirPods before?
So yeah, I am on my second pair. Wasn't a loss. It was a putting it through the washer situation.
Ooh, okay.
Left them in a pocket, and yeah, so. But I have lost them, and I've had to spend a few minutes looking for them. For example, last week on the island for a little getaway, and the case is white. I left it on the bed in the hotel, and it kind of gets lost. Okay, where are the AirPods? Oh, they're on the bed. I just couldn't see it because it blended in with the sheets. But yeah.
Yeah, I tried covering my tracks. I lost them, and I think I'm going back to the old school, just earbuds here with the cable going into my phone. It's funny too. I was watching, Coach Phil, right? The guy that reacts to all our CFL videos, all our Arrow Up videos. When he was reviewing one of our Arrow Up videos, or reacting to it is the word he uses. Sione Tuhema got off the bus. And Sione always has those earbuds coming off. And Phil made a comment about that. He said, when you see a guy walking with the earbuds, with the cables going down to his phone, that's that guy's ready to play today. And so I think I might go with that a little intimidation look.
I think those are kind of making a comeback. The more and more digital interviews or podcasts I watch, you see more and more people with the cables. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even care. I was devastated that I lost my AirPods.
Well, you and I accidentally switched our AirPods at a hockey game a couple years ago.
Yeah, the infamous
after picking them up from the security. So maybe there's something to that.
I mean, it's cost effective. Go with a lot of different devices now. So I think I might just go back to the old earbuds. It's not really much of that difference when you really think about it, too.
Yeah, from a quality perspective,
No, I have big over the
no big deal
earphones that go over my head, so I have those too, but
cheaper too.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember back when I was a kid, I used to have my iPod, and I used to just I only really listen to for music, so I'd keep the headphones in and just string the headphones around the actual iPod, and then they'd always be there, so you never have to lose them. And even if you do lose these things, they're quite cheaper. So I think I am done with my AirPods, and if anybody took them over the weekend, because I was out in Vancouver, congratulations, you got a free AirPods from me. Because I think somebody took them. I was tracking my steps, and no one had them.
Yeah, so. When do you remember having them last? You just
Friday evening, so you know who you are if you have them.
You didn't leave them on the Sunshine Coast, no?
No, it was out in Vancouver. And
all right.
Like I said, I covered my tracks, I made my calls, and no one popped up with them, sadly. So I'm punting AirPods. I'm done with
First
them.
world problem, yeah.
I'm sticking with my Apple products, but I'm going with the earphones.
That's fair enough. Love it. Okay, before we're out of here, CFL.ca, Jamie Nye, forecasting 1,000-yard receivers, future ones. And he mentions, I had read this article too before you wanted to include it, so I know all about it. Aiden Eberhardt, one of those young targets that got some game experience last year, had a great camp. Interesting.
I love that Jamie said in his article, too, that he witnessed it in week 1 preseason firsthand, because I vocalized this a bunch last year about Aiden's camp, and that extended into the preseason where he made some highlight reel catches in our week 1 trip to Saskatchewan, where that game, I mean, outside of like Dane Evans and Dom Davis, there were like pretty much no regular starters in there. So it was really a chance for anybody to stand out. And Aiden was that guy that stood out. And ultimately, I think that played a big role in him cracking the roster for the first couple weeks of the season when we had some receiver injuries. So, I mean, Aiden's showed the skill to break out, and this is year 2 for him now. We see a lot of times people in year 2 in this league really take that next step. So that's I like
Alex
that.
Hollins last year. Right?
Exactly.
Yep.
So I like that. It's a bold prediction from Jamie, and I like it. And Jamie says this too. He has some credibility. He called Sean Bain last year in this exact same article.
Right.
For Saskatchewan, he went off for 1,000. So Jamie's got let's make this a streak. Let's get Aiden 1,000.
Yeah, and I'm excited about all these young receivers with Rhymes and Lucky not here, and with Keon starting on the 6-game injured list. There's going to be some reps from the American side of it, depending on how the ratio shakes out. There's going to be some reps and some opportunities to be had. Check that out, CFL.ca. First and Now, coming to a conclusion. We thank Vernon Adams Jr. Be sure to subscribe, rate, leave a review. Wherever you get your podcasts, check out our previous episode, our previous Grey Cup recap, 64 and 85. So yeah, and we're excited about football.
Yeah, it's coming. We're in Kamloops soon, and can't wait to be staring at those mountains.
Staring at those mountains, indeed, enjoying the outdoors. For Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, talk to you in a couple of weeks on First and Now.